Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. We are back once again to continue one of our series that we both enjoy quite a bit, but for whatever reason, it always gets put on the back burner. We're here to do another episode of If We're Being Honest. This time, we are discussing with the completion of season two. We are going through LFG, now having gone through two whole seasons. We both enjoy this show quite a bit, so just wanted to get some quick kind of topics out there and discuss it. As previously mentioned with this series, neither of us have a mute. We don't have a script, just have a list of topics, and it's very real, more uncut, not scripted. So that's kind of how these work. We enjoy these quite a bit because we get to just kind of, as we would off air, just kind of talk and chat about something we're very passionate about, which is obviously wrestling. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. I don't think we've talked since season one about, or at least on air, about LFG. So I wanted to start out with season one winners: Jasper Troy, Tyra May Steele. KP, how are you feeling about the utilization of those two? And who do you see as the bigger star in the long run?
I'm glad you used the word utilization because I think that's the key topic here. So, in terms of like just their characters, in terms of them being winners last year, at the time seemed like decent decisions for both people. You look at Jasper Troy, described as the absolute monster by Booker T, and I think just generally speaking, he was destined to sort of like do some really good things in NXT. And he had a match against Obafemi, and then he had a little bit of Ricky Saints as well. But since then, I mean, this is going back, what, probably a good couple of months ago now. We've only really seen him in like little backstage segments, so not really involved too highly. Um,
Yep.
so I think maybe they've dropped the ball, I think, a little bit with him, but at least he has had some like high profile matches. So I guess you can say that, they've done something with him. But then you talk about the other side of the coin and you look at Tyra May Steele, who beat Xena Sterling. I think arguably at the time, Xena was probably the better of the two. I think it was quite even. They were both very good. Don't get me wrong. I think
Yeah.
Tyra
Yeah.
winning wasn't a bad call by any means at the time, but I think they were both pretty evil in quality at that point. Since then, Tyra May Steele, I don't know what's gone on, but she's struggled to really been a consistent part of NXT. Only a number of appearances. I want to say maybe like three at most. Most recently, a tag team sort of thing with Tavion Heights against Ethan Page and Chelsea
Yeah.
Green. That's as close as I can remember for NXT. And then she has some appearances in Evolve. She's probably done more Evolve appearances than I think she has NXT, or if it's very, very close either way. So I think, yeah, I don't know what's gone on with her, but I think that's a pretty missed opportunity too. Whether it's character work, whether it's just not quite at the position that they thought she was at, hard to say for definite. But yeah, I think you look at those winners and you think, well, they haven't really done a lot since. So yeah, a little bit awkward, but obviously, what exactly do you make of that? Because at the time they seemed like decent picks, but something's gone wrong.
Yeah, and it's one thing for the women's side who we mention all the time that that division on NXT is absolutely stacked. But you've seen a couple people go up in the likes of Julia and Vaquer, but feels like I really like Tyra May Steele's character. I thought that the cocky Olympic gold medalist, I thought that was great. I thought that could, just like it worked with Kurt Angle, I thought it could work really well with her. But for whatever reason, only included in that one tag match. And yeah, I don't really know why else. I mean, maybe she's just not as good in ring. Um, and yeah, like you said, Jasper Troy actually having a few matches, but definitely, all things considered, I thought they would both be utilized quite a bit more, especially on the men's side. That we talked about quite a bit. That isn't quite to the standards of that of the women. But on that note, I'm glad you mentioned it. Evolve. I didn't know until I started prepping for this that Tyra May still was on Evolve, and a couple of other people on Evolve, Leigh Laurel as Jen Tala, and Troy Yearwood for as Jamar Hampton. I didn't know they were on Evolve because I noticed there were a few people that weren't on season one and season two. So I think you do watch Evolve, right? Have you've seen these guys included and Tyra May Steele more? I guess she couldn't be less hardly on NXT.
Yeah, I have. I have been watching Evolve ever since it, basically just recame to life, I suppose, you could say, on Tubi. And yeah, they like, don't get me wrong, no one's had like really sort of like long tenures in Evolve at the moment. Like, there's been a few appearances for each of them. I think probably Jin Tala's had the biggest opportunity of them all. She went 1-on-1 with Callie Armstrong, the women's Evolve champion at one point for the title. So there was that. But besides that, I mean, unfortunately for Troy, he's now, well, or Jamal, I should say, he's now injured, so he's having some time off, which is unfortunate. He was involved with a tag team sort of like program at the point where he did get injured. But yeah, I don't know. There are definitely like positions here for these guys on Evolve. So, whether it's going to be a case of, for season 3 of LFG, we see some of these maybe, transitioning over to that show. That could be, a nice little, segue for them to get onto, a WWE program of some description. But yeah, as far as, most of them go, I'd expect to see most of them back in season 3 again. So it's it's an interesting one, isn't it? You don't quite get the victories for in the final, and then you got to go through the whole process again. That's like obviously Xena Sterling, Shiloh Hill. They both were finalists in season 1. They got to run the gauntlet once again, and it's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot for these guys to deal with. But there's opportunities, elsewhere, I suppose. Still,
Yeah, definitely opportunities. And I think one of the opportunities you could say was take the Cutler James route, right? He didn't win season 1. He left due to injury, air quotes there, because then he showed up at NXT as a part of Dark State. So, funny enough, he didn't win season 1, but I think it's not even close. He's been on TV a lot more than Tyra and Jasper Troy. So maybe take that route.
that's the easy way.
uh, yeah, apparently. Okay, so making the transition from season 1 to season 2, I think the big elephant in the room is replacing Mickie James with Michelle McCool. Who do you like better, and which season did you like better overall? Now that we're done with 2 of them.
Okay, so with both seasons being done, I think I can safely say that I did prefer season 1. There are a couple of reasons why. I think the main reason is just generally how the seasons have been presented. So I think in season 1, we saw much more. I think the episodes were longer, if I'm right. I think they were roughly around an hour long, and that was like uncut of ads and stuff. So you did get a solid 60 minutes. As well as ads involved. But with this second season, I think it was roughly about 45 minutes or so. And that's like with ad breaks added on as well. So you're probably talking like an hour in total or something around that time. But because I think of the lack of time, the 15 minutes difference, there was a lot of sort of like match prep that we no longer really see in season 2. And that sort of like general sort of like dynamic between the superstars, the future greats and their legends. So I think less interactions, less chance to show their personality, less chance to see like how they're coping with certain things going on at the time. I just think generally speaking, there's just not as much that we really saw in season 2, and I still enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good series, but I thought season 1 was just a little bit of a step ahead. And not only that as well, another one of my reasons as to why I prefer season 1, you had a lot more special guests on season 1. I think for
Yeah,
season
that's true.
2,
Yeah.
it was just Charlotte Flair, I want to say. And that's
Yeah.
because Punk was season 1, wasn't he? I'm pretty sure he was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, there were a fair few guys on season 1. So there was that influence as well. Which, if you got less special guests, you're obviously then having the legends decide who's getting the points every week. And that brings me perfectly onto another question you asked, and Michelle McCool over Mickie James. I personally preferred Mickie James being involved.
Yeah.
I think you could argue that Michelle had a stronger group, and fair enough, she probably
Yep.
did, but I just generally think that the dynamic, having a husband and wife combination, there's a lot of power for for that dynamic there. And I know wasn't it Booker T was once saying in this season that it's a fix and there's all this,
Fix
that, and
was
the
in.
other.
Yep.
Yeah, then he walked out and stuff, and then you got Bubba Ray saying there's a conspiracy against Xena.
Yep.
So there were a couple of things, and naturally neither involved Michelle or Undertaker. So
Yep.
not putting any blame there, but you can see why perhaps they might have been going down that route. But yeah, I just think generally season 1 was better. What about you? Did you think the same thing as me though? Like, I think the notice is quite different. It's quite big. Sorry.
Yeah, Yeah, it felt like the season one production value was definitely higher than season two. And I do also prefer Mickie over Michelle. Mickie felt like she cared more about the project. I don't know, that's weird to say maybe, but felt like she had more passion about them. Whereas Michelle kind of felt like she was going through the motions a bit. I will say, so I would agree that season one was better in terms of production value, in terms of star power and all of that. What I will say for season two, though, is I know there's not a huge difference because a lot of these are returning, but I felt like the season two roster, like head to toe, I felt like really didn't have a weak link. Obviously, you could pick a couple out there that weren't as strong, but in terms of just, top to bottom, tons of talent
Yeah,
on season
definitely.
two, and obviously that probably comes by nature too, because obviously if a lot of the the season one's returning, they're going to appear better, so that could play obviously a big part in it too. But yeah, definitely better matches in season two, but definitely better stories and guests, I would say, in season one. I would agree with that, and yeah, lots of online criticism. I almost said hate, but criticism I think is a more fair word for Michelle, because obviously, elephant in the room. Why is she there? The fix from Booker. He wasn't shy about that. I'm glad they put that in there because we're not dumb either. We know these things. So I'm glad they're able to at least take jabs at them. Interestingly enough, Undertaker was a point behind Michelle going into the finals. And then having Undertaker, both of Taker's talents won, shouldn't that have resulted in a point to have him then take over the lead spot? I don't know. It makes sense to me, but anyways.
I saw a lot of people complaining about that as well. To be fair, with the point system, I think
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
remembering it differently. I thought Michelle won like about 3 weeks before the final, but I
Oh,
think I
okay.
may have misquoted it because of how many people were saying that there was such a small difference between the two of them, and then Michelle suddenly wins because
Right.
they stop awarding points. So maybe I
Yeah.
really am just misremembering how it went. But yeah, I don't know. I had it in my head that she'd won a long time ago, but yeah, obviously I'm definitely wrong on that front. So that is a little bit of a weird thing to for them to have done, and to seemingly just stopped really tallying up. So yeah,
Right.
I get
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying. To be fair,
Yeah. So, anyways, I thought that was noteworthy, and I was like, it was weird because
yeah,
they showed the point total like at the beginning, because they showed it when they did the rematch for Sean at the last episode, the finale of season two. They showed the point total, and Taker was just 1 point behind at that point. So,
okay,
regardless, I guess it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, because the main takeaway is who's going up to the next, to NXT. So,
yes.
um, with that, season two, most shocking elimination, whether it be the point of the tournament that they lost or who they lost to. Did you have any big upsets for the for the tournament for season two?
Um, I don't know if really upsets apply here. There were some situations. Obviously, Elijah getting injured was unfortunate. There
Yep.
was quite the shocking moment with Drake Moreau,
Yep. Yep.
and obviously everything that happened with BJ Ray and that elimination. That was kind of crazy and wild.
That was
Um,
hilarious.
yeah, it was funny as hell. I loved it. So I guess really that was quite a shock, I guess you could say. Um, but yeah, in terms of everything else, I think there were some really even matches here between the group.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Panina eliminating Xena, I think, was probably the right
Yep.
call based on how things have gone for Xena this year. I think she probably
Yep.
is still technically the best of the lot, but you gotta be showing that, right? I don't think she really did
Yep.
sort of like get it in her stride this year. Maybe she was treated
Right.
a little bit unfairly at the start
For
by the
sure. Yeah.
coaches. I think you could probably agree she probably was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think towards the end, I think you had the likes of Panina and Danny, who are really stepping things up, and I think they probably deserve to be in the final for that reason. Even the likes of
Yep.
Hayes Jameson, I thought she did a really good job too. The most of the spotlight was on Xena Sterling, but Hayes, she really stood out towards the end. So there were some there were some shining stars here in this one for sure. I think Troll London, him getting eliminated was just unlucky because he had a
Yep.
really good season as well. And I guess the same could
Agreed.
be said, for someone like from Anthony Luke. So it's just
Yep.
there's a really good just general sort of like quality across the board. And I even mentioned Bailey. Bailey's the exact same too. Bailey and Danny in that first round eliminating match, that was incredible. and just one of them had to go through. That's just the unfortunate reality, right?
Yeah, that's a good point, and actually kind of goes nicely with the next topic I had. And that was kind of who do you look forward to? And I think you can kind of reiterate this back, but I just wanted to hit a few of the talents that I liked as well. I thought Hayes was a standout. I really like her unique personality, kind of almost like a party gimmick. I really latched onto that. I think they could do a lot of good things with that. Similarly, let's see, Anthony Luke. I think he has tremendous potential, and interestingly enough, Troll London. I love his character. Obviously, it's very similar, and he has a type to that of Jeff Hardy. I found it interesting that in season one, Booker critiqued Anthony Luke for being too much like The Rock. But then Trill comes in here and he's basically Jeff Hardy. Let's not, yeah, he does some things differently, but to not call, to say not call the spade a spade like you did in season one, I thought that was interesting. But I think Anthony Luke and Trill London both have tremendous upside. I actually don't. I'm not a huge fan of what's his name? Harlem Lewis. I just think he makes angry faces, but other than that, he has a good look. But I wasn't as high on him as everyone else was. I thought Shiloh was a much better choice. I thought that was an easy victory for him, and I also thought Drake. I think Drake has loads of potential too. But yeah. Uh, their ages too is another very interesting thing. I think Xena was very harshly, and I don't know if that's part of just like the show or if that's actual, her not doing well. I never know, I assume it's just the show. But Xena's only 21 years old, which I was shocked to see. Bailey's only 23, Danny's only 23, as is Serena, and Chris Island is 22. So, super young, kind of crazy. But yeah, I think a lot of these guys and women here, I think we'll see them in WWE eventually. There's tons of talent here. It really is, truly is incredible.
Yeah, or at least half of these guys will be definitely in some form of WWE TV at some point. I would assume, probably, in the next few years. I would say, um, probably you're looking at most of these being on NXT as a minimum. So yeah, I think there are some really good guys in this one. I think you got like a nice mix. You got some that have developed like a decent gimmick already, and then you got some that have got like a really good sort of like array of in-ring ability to themselves.
Yeah,
So just sort of
yeah,
like, I don't think there's really that one superstar amongst the group that has both. I would say, but like there are ones that are obviously stronger in one area and like a little
yeah,
bit weaker in the other. So I
yeah,
think if one of those guys that are really strong in one department can sort of like really work on that other side of the coin, now how can you possibly say no to them, going forward in a future season? So
yeah,
for someone
exactly.
like like Xena Sterling, for example, really good in ring, her gimmick, she's got one, but is it good? I don't know. It's one of those like weird things, really. And the like James Hayes Jameson, incredible gimmick. I think it's great.
Yeah,
You've already mentioned that already. In ring
yeah,
talent is getting better, so
yeah,
literally the exact opposite. So
yeah.
yeah, I think just for these people, well, these guys to really sort of like hone that second little bit, I think we'll be seeing a lot of good things from a lot of these guys.
Yeah, when they're that young, obviously they have plenty of time. The
Yeah.
oldest one is in LFG is Tyra. She's 32,
Mm.
which is crazy if she's not on main. How much time does she have if she's not improved to this point? Um, but yeah, I think if I could only take one from each men and women just today that didn't win, I'd probably take Anthony Luke and Xena because Xena just has that look. She just has the kind of in ring thing, and I think you could argue she could probably pull off a gimmick better than some of the main roster people we have now. They don't have tons of gimmick that play that blonde role like a Tiffany Stratton. I think she could do more than what Tiffany does now, which is just tell everyone it's Tiffy time.
It's got to that point, unfortunately.
But all right, well, final kind of topic here is the final four, in which, of course, on the men's side, Shiloh Hill and Harlem Lewis. Do you think the right person won? And who do you think ends up going further out of the men and women? Obviously, the women being Danny and Panina. I personally was shocked Panina did not win. A Samoan woman in WWE felt like that was going to be that had to be it, right? Do you feel like the right person won from both sides, and who do you see going further?
So this might make you laugh. Not gonna lie, when Solo Sokoa said that he was looking for one missing link for his MFTs, I thought, wait, what if
Hmm.
Panina wins and then she just
Yeah,
like handpicks straight up? I was like, there's no way that's gonna
yeah.
happen. But wouldn't that just been hilarious? The Samoan power and influence. Um,
It wouldn't surprise me either, though. That's the thing.
yeah, it probably wouldn't. I mean, Solo wasn't on NXT for that long. He was there, for
Right.
a
Yeah.
cup of tea, and that was basically it. He was gone up to the main roster. So,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
so yeah, there is that. But yeah, I think just to answer your questions here, Panina and Danny, in my opinion, I think this was probably this is such an even final between the two
Yep.
women, and I think for me personally, the right one did win. I would say. I think Danny's just got she's got this like added grit to her game this year. And I think if this was Danny season
Yep.
one, I'd say, Panina every single day of the week. But
Yeah.
just because of what Danny's done this year, the improvements she's made, I had absolutely no idea that she would be able to showcase the range that she's displayed this year and just the stuff that she's done. Just generally speaking, really impressive. So just the improvement levels, the commitment to what she's doing, Undertaker's
Yeah.
blessing. She already really had it last year, and then now she's on this team and she's winning. So it's a credit
Yep.
to what she's done this year. And no offense to Padina, she was unbelievable as well. She had some really great work this year, and I think she really came out of a shell and just was hitting all the high strokes. But so was Danny. So it was just a really consistent final between the two ladies, and someone has to win. I think Danny was just about the right call. As for the guys, Shiloh and Harlem, I would agree with you that Shiloh was the easy choice here and that he was the better one to win. I don't mind Harlem Lewis as such. I think he's decent. But I do see where you're coming from because, funnily enough, my wife says the exact same thing. He's big and mean, but what does he offer otherwise?
Right.
Aside of that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think he's got a bit of an attitude problem as well. Like that's something that I think
Yeah.
he would need
Yeah.
to really get off. And if he can sort of like shake that off, be a little more open to learning new things. And I think he was a bit more towards the end of the season, the last couple of
Yeah.
weeks, but it's a little bit too late at that point. You got to be starting early. That's what the coaches are there for. They've been through the business. They know what they're doing. Listen to them and just roll with what they're saying. So Charlo's unbelievable. He's fantastic. He's got a great likability factor to him. He's good in the ring. He's powerful. He's quick. He's dynamic. I think just everything about him is a star. So really looking forward to seeing what he can do.
Yeah, I personally think Shiloh is going to be end up having a better career than Danny. Nothing against Danny. She got the Hell's Gate from Undertaker. I think that in itself is something worth noting that they let her do that. So I think she's going to do big things as well. But I think in terms of uniqueness and just kind of all around, I think Shiloh does bring something different and new to the table.
Agreed.
So I think Shiloh will go further, but I am interested to see what they'll do with Danny if they'll keep her a face. Obviously, she has that very bubbly baby face thing, but take her wanted her out of that. That was like the biggest season, one of the biggest storylines of season two was quit being boring essentially. So yeah, it is interesting. I kind of hit mine, but I wanted to get one more topic in there before we rush off here. I kind of hit my season three, if there is one. If out of the provided season two cast, I would go Anthony, Luke, and Xena. I think for my winners here, maybe a wild card as Hayes. I think Hayes has a lot of potential, and so does Troy. But not sure if or not Troy, excuse me, Trill. But not sure if they're quite ready yet. But I wanted to get your takes on that. Who do you think wins season three out of season two? And any improvements that you want to see to LFG? I'm assuming more stars is one. Another one I'd like to put in there is they do the four votes. It's dumb. You have a chance for a 2-2 tie. You have a chance for a 2-2 tie, and they always pick their own same damn talent. So obviously, we know who you're going to pick. You have an odd number. Just let the other three judges choose, uh, or just do let Sean partake in all, so you have five. I think to have the four is kind of silly sometimes.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's why I liked when the special guests came in, the likes of CM Punk, Charlotte Flair,
Yeah,
Gunther,
yeah,
all those guys, because they would decide themselves. You wouldn't have any input
yeah,
from the coaches. Obviously, they would be analyzing anyway, but the final
yeah,
decision would come down to the special guests. So I think
yeah,
naturally
yeah.
speaking, that was a much better way of doing it. There's no bias coming on in.
Agreed.
And it just makes a lot more sense in that respect. So I think I would prefer that to be a regular thing in season 3. Go back to that season 1 sort of way they were doing it, and just generally presenting it more. Given that extra 15 minutes, if they can do that, that'd be amazing. But if there's a time restraint, then I can understand why they're not doing that. But that'll be my
Yeah,
personal way of improving it for sure. As for my winners for season 3, it's difficult because obviously you've probably got, definitely you got 2 of these going off to NXT. That'll be Danny and Shiloh. Hopefully on NXT anyway. We'll see what happens with that.
yeah,
And probably some of these may be going to evolve. I don't know who would really fit that bill off the top of my head here, because I think it's an awkward one. Do you go to evolve and do you take that get that guaranteed spot over there for a little while? I don't know how long that would be for, or do you stay another season, try and push to win, and then go to
yeah,
NXT? So it's a bit of a
yeah,
gamble, I suppose. I don't know how much of a say the superstars have in this, but it's definitely a thought process for some of these guys for sure.
yeah.
If I was going to say my winners, sorry, I'm just completely steamrolling here.
Oh, we have fun.
I think I'd probably say that Elijah was really unlucky this season. I thought he was
True.
really
Yeah,
hitting strides, and like he was impressing very very much before he got
yeah,
injured.
true.
So I think I'd probably put him high up there to win next year.
Yeah,
Well, obviously with Charlotte Hill being out, so I'd probably say him as one of my guesses. And if I had to predict for the women's one, it depends what Xena Sterling we get. If we get season 1 Xena, she's winning hands down.
yeah,
If we don't get that, I mean, I'd say maybe Bailey or Panina. If they can really tap into what they're known for being able to accomplish, I'd say one of those two. It's literally just it's down to Xena. If she can really tap into it, she's winning this one.
yeah. And I think P Nasty strikes me as someone who's going to get called up anyways.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised at all if she gets called up. Um, but yeah, Serena showed a lot of improvement too in season 2. But and I think Drake has a lot of potential. I love the New Orleans gimmick. That's so unique. He has a nice mix of. But anyways, we're gonna wrap this up. We probably go on for an hour if we wanted to. But yeah, with that. If we're being honest, I believe this is episode 4, and it's been way too long since we've done an episode. Now that we are slowing down on the Mania project, we are going to try to get these out a little more consistently, and/or get another project in. So we like these episodes, and a lot of the times we have to try to keep a time period with the weekly recaps and predictions and reactions that we don't have a ton of time to really get our thoughts and kind of go back and forth. So that's why we love these episodes. But yeah, with that, this has been another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. And if you like these kind of episodes, please let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as well. Those help us out tremendously. But until next time, we'll see you then. Take care.